I want to thank you for being here and
Yeah.
for going through this like new process for me.
Yeah. I am
Yeah.
very happy to be here. I honestly, when as soon as you told me that you'd be honored to have me as your first, like, I was almost just like tearing up because I was like, oh, you made me honored to be your first.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
Thanks so
learned
much.
I learned a lot from you, and so I here's my approach.
Yeah.
I realize that I've been in the industry for a long time, and
Yeah.
yet I've never really been fully in the industry. And I'm
Yeah.
just starting to like get past my fear of reaching out and seeing other models and other
Yeah.
artists, erotic artists, and other activists, and for all of the internal reasons why I haven't done it, and external.
For
Um,
sure.
so
There's always reasons.
yeah, so my goal right now is to get to know the other artists,
Cool.
and because I'm curious, I feel like a beginner again, and I feel like I have a lot to learn. Um, and I just think that we have some fun stories to share too. So
Yeah, I definitely think so. And I think it's like a really awesome kind of glimpse into what is the life of an erotic artist and, how we approach our own work and our art. Because I feel like that's something that's always missing in the dialogue. So
exactly. So we'll just get started. My
do it.
shift.
Yeah.
So okay, well, my first question is about your journey. How did you get here? And I also want, just for people who might be watching, to learn a little bit how you and I connected as well.
Yes, I
So
would love to hear that. So my own personal journey as being an erotic artist, I kind of started diving into first kind of realizing I kind of like showing my sexuality. I'm kind of an exhibitionist. When I was around 19, 20, I went into webcamming for a little bit to just kind of help pay off student bills. But also I was wanting to just kind of explore that aspect of myself of being seen in those moments. I actually really quite enjoyed it. I quit for various reasons, and then eventually I kind of started getting myself back into the industry. Especially going into my erotic art that I have now as Lady J Cherie, it was a long time before I actually took that jump into creating her. And she's been materializing for a while. She's always been there. I was able to kind of explore her a little bit in personal relationships, but I just didn't really feel like I wanted it to be more I just wanted to be more received. And in that aspect, I decided to kind of, after a year of pondering and really making sure like I was okay with being received in that way by the public, I decided to just say, heck, why not? I'm gonna just jump into it and do it. As well as obviously I had my other jobs, so there's a big thing with that I had with it, and I realized though that my art is such a huge part of me, and it's also a huge part of why I do my sex coaching as well. It's part of actually why I came into empowerment. And so I felt like hiding away that part of myself was something that I was not only doing me a disservice to, but almost being a disservice to the people who I'm talking to, and I'm like talking about sex work, etc. And so even just showing that erotic stuff of me and seeing how comfortable I am with that, I just really loved being able to become clear with it and just show people who I am in those raw, vulnerable moments, which I think is what it all is about in terms of connecting that sensual part of yourself with an audience. So
yeah, that deep intimacy that,
yeah.
when we share that part of ourselves, it lets other people kind of connect with that in them as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So I decided to do that. I've been writing and creating for so long as well. Since I was 13 years old, I've been writing poetry. So it's kind of always been a part of my life. And I always knew I wanted to direct it into the more sensual, because I feel like the space of eroticism is such a beautiful aspect of art and so ingrained in art as well, and we don't really see it as much. So I kind of wanted to actually kind of create my own expressions of what that could look like for people. And one thing I really liked about that was kind of being open in that sort of way kind of brought us together, because we had a mutual friend who just said, hey, you guys are both so open about your sexuality, you just need to link up. I remember I think we became friends in like 20 minutes. We met at a Starbucks or something like that. And yeah, we just started our journey together, and it was great.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Tell me more about your creative process then, if you
yeah.
know, because you've gone through this journey of your poetry, and now you're getting into your visuals. You're on one platform right now with two.
OnlyFans.
Yeah.
OnlyFans, IG, kind
Yeah.
of to get people to see me a little bit
Yeah.
more. But yeah. My creative process, I would say most of my art, that what I like to do is always stuff that I've wanted to kind of emanate and create. So it's always a little bit stemming from either my own personal experience, or it's a fantasy stemmed from personal experience. Or just fantasy in general. I'm a big daydreamer. So in sense of this is kind of a great way of kind of creating those mesh of words and those thoughts in my head, and being able to kind of put it out there in the physical format. So for me, my creative process, I really love the idea, and I've always grown up with the idea of being a lady, hence why I have my name as Lady J Cherie. I don't always want to kind of represent the aspect that a person who can be sexual, and also, I create a lot of sadist content and like masochist content, so a lot of kind of kinky stuff that you wouldn't really necessarily portray a lady as. So I kind of wanted to almost integrate that for people into society, and realize that it can be both at the same time. Like, a person who's a lady doesn't lose her respect just because she is so comfortable and influenced in her sexuality in such maybe more alternative practices that people like to think in mainstream ways.
Yeah, it's almost like in sex play, we explore different areas of ourselves that we don't get to play out
Yeah.
in real life. And so, like, having a name and having a character or persona allows us, or an artist name allows us to,
Love it.
you know, step into a new space without losing ourselves at the same time.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I felt like we've talked about this before in our own discussions about just, creating like our own kind of manufacture of a person who we're stepping into, like, during those scenes. And with a lady, I've always been fascinated by like Audrey Hepburn. I love like the old classic movie stars. So that's something what I was kind of going for. But I also knew that there's this other aspect of myself that was very dark and twisted. And so I was really wanting to kind of almost integrate those two, because I was like, I love this part, but I don't think I can live without this. And I don't think I can live without this one. And so I feel like embracing those two kind of had me step into kind of integrating those for myself in my own personal life as well, which I actually
Yeah.
really loved. It kind of made me more empowered in that sense.
Tell me some of the names that you've had. Like, have you changed names over time, or like have you?
Oh,
With
yes,
this one?
definitely. I started out with Rosie Cherie, and then because I really loved the name Rosie, I thought it was very cute and innocent. I love the name Cherie because it's dear in French.
Yeah.
Just rolls off the tongue. And I changed my name from, I have my name as usually Lady J Cherie, just because people usually do call me J. So I just decided to add the lady as well on top of in the front there.
I'm like deciding whether I should move from Dahlia Duende into Fever Dream. Like,
Ooh,
really claim it, because I feel like Dahlia is a part of it's a softer side of me, and that Fever
yeah.
Dream is a little bit more intense and a
Yeah.
different side of me. Anyway, I'm kind of playing with.
That's cool. I like that. I know. I always feel
Yeah.
like when you're choosing your name, that is definitely such a huge embodiment. I
Right.
definitely see, some strippers even they have like tattooed on their leg or something their stage name, which I think is super cool because kind of like creating a little identity of themselves. Also, it's great, if someone needs to remember your name during
Yeah.
the job. I really like that as well. It's super smart.
You need to remember your own name. Like,
Yeah. Just look here.
Well, I've really enjoyed watching your creative process, and I know that part of the push for you to come into this was COVID and the
Yes.
quarantine, and for me too, like the pivot that I've had to go through to um, still stay in my momentum,
Right.
and still stay okay with the art that I'm doing.
Right.
And it was dark for me to have to make the change over, and I'm still kind of easing into the online stuff. I've got my Patreon.
Yeah.
I've always had erotic art of using my body, but to go on OnlyFans and to go on Patreon and to start showing people all the things
Yeah.
and
It's a
all
different.
the things, it's a brave new step for me.
Yeah.
And but it's because of this like horror show of
Yeah.
of COVID. So I'm just
Yeah.
wondering, in this time that we're in right now, like if you want to address that at all.
Yeah, I really want to address that. Yeah, so I actually did start this during the whole COVID thing. I have created a lot of material beforehand, but I didn't really go public with it until now. Part of the reasons because of COVID, I got a loss of other money sources that I was having. So I was able to kind of direct more money sources from that. And as well as it was kind of in the sense of COVID is such a revelation for me. I just kind of felt, there's always there's a universal grief happening in the world, or the way the world is going. We don't really know where it's going, and I think that's the scariest thing. And I remember just kind of thinking to myself, okay, if the world is just going to shit anyways, why don't I just take that step? It's kind of like that thinking of live every day like it's going to be your last. I was like, well, I feel like I'm kind of placed into that situation a little bit. And with that uncertainty feeling, it almost gave me that little extra push to just step outside of my comfort zone and just say, hey, heck it, why not? Like I'm going to just try and like, if the world's going to be changing, I'm going to change with it. I want to help. I'm going to be part of a shift, whatever it is. If it's part of COVID, whether it's not, there's going to be a lot of shifts happening, and I want to be in that movement. So that's probably one of the main factors of why I did go into it and started creating it.
It's wild, hey, that so I keep hearing this quote and reading it online, is that we're all in the same boat, but we're in different storms.
Yeah.
Different storms, and isn't that beautiful? I
I
mean,
like
it's so
that.
painful, but yeah,
We're all in different storms here. Yeah, we're all having our own struggles.
yeah, and this experience of uh, communal trauma and communal grief, and a
Yeah.
huge shift of really caring for others in
Yeah.
a way. Like everyone's really opened up and softened up in so many ways.
Yeah.
So like I was wondering what your storm looked like at all, or like what your storm is looking like, but it sounds like yours is like just sunny skies and I don't know.
My storm, I guess, if I was struggling with anything, I think would be, you know, there's always, I think it's the storm of clouds of thought that I'm carrying with me from the past. So it is those old ideals of, what a person is if they do show themselves erotically online. I remember back when I was younger and when we were taught about sex work, it was never in a good light. It was
Yeah.
never in terms of respect towards any of the workers, or anyone in that industry, which I don't know, it kind of just felt like it tore it down a little bit. And I'm not kind of trying to say that this is something that is a job for everyone, because it really isn't. And I think it really takes a lot. Like I said, like I thought probably a year more before I actually took that jump. And I really like had it settle with myself. I discussed it with friends, family, just making sure that what I'm going into is I'm going to be in a supportive base, because yeah, I'm going to be finding people who aren't going to find me as reputable, because now that I'm out as a person who carries a service that has more of an erotic nature. And it's kind of sad, because I feel like there is something in this that people kind of get to explore their own eroticism by watching other people, and especially in terms of not seeing the mainstream porn. I feel like in terms of OnlyFans, you get a chance to really see this one person, how they truly want to portray themselves to be. At least in this case, that's how I want to portray myself in my profile, and just revealing themselves in those moments. And I think that's such a personal thing to connect with, you know.
Yeah, that decision, that fear of coming out is such a, I mean, I've went through it on like in different levels too. Like
like I have it in my belly gut still. I'm just like, oh, like
yeah.
it was something. And I remember, you know, coming out to my mother about it, and like that was something.
Yeah.
And she's obviously just super supportive. My family's just supportive, and it's great to have. And I feel very, very lucky, and I'm very, very privileged to have a family that will, you know, will step past those old ideal mind frames and still see me as Lady Cherie, the person who I am, in my everyday life. So it was good. I feel like the only thing that comes back to me is ever people from my past, when I was living those past ideals, how they're thinking of me, because I don't know if they've changed or not. And so that's where the thing where I'm kind of unsure, but at the same time I always remind myself that those people are in my past for a reason. They're not there presently with me for certain numerous factors, and I'm pretty okay like living with myself and the people who do support me.
Yeah, I've definitely had like that, I call it like the burning off of the fire, like like that which does not serve has happened a couple of times where I feel like my skin has been lit on fire, and I've just watched people kind of, you know, turn to ash away from me. And some people come back and say, I'm so proud of you. You're so brave. Thank you so much. Like, you know, like what a gift to see someone come into themselves so fully.
Yeah,
I remember when you came out on Instagram.
Yeah.
And it was kind of like,
it was a very like little slip in, and like no one really kind of knew what it was, but it was just one sentence. And I remember
it was powerful.
Yeah, I remember you messaged me after, and I realized like after doing it, I didn't realize how anxious I was. Like if you don't even think about it, it's still such a huge step. Even if I just said a little sentence, I'm like, probably half of people won't know. It's still out there. And I remember you called me, and that was almost like a rescue memory, because I realized I was a lot more rocking in my boat and in a shitstorm than I thought I was. So yeah, it was great. No, I had a great talk though. I felt very empowered after talking to you, and I knew I made the right decision. You know, I asked myself a billion times before even talking about it. So yeah.
Well, I'm glad you did. Okay, I've got some questions to move on.
Yeah.
Okay. So let's have some fun,
and
then we'll kind of go a little bit deeper.
Let's do it.
So I want to know what your before and after ritual looks like. Before and after some sort of engagement with your sex profession.
With my erotic sex professional self.
Whether it's preparing for your shoot, preparing for a client, preparing for one-on-one like intimacy coach, whatever it is, you lay the scene.
Yeah, definitely.
I want to know, what does it look like moving in, and what does it look like coming out?
Yeah, for sure. So my sex coaching is very different. You know, I require a more professional approach to it. With my other work that I have been in and have been influenced by, etc., my routines of like my erotic self and the expression of my eroticism is always, first I put on some music that I really, really like, and I create some just kind of more zen, powerful to myself. I have a lot of mantras that I've been starting to kind of incorporate into my day. So kind of saying a couple mantras to myself beforehand. I am living a life of abundance. I love that one.
Yes.
Something wonderful is about to happen to me. I am worthy of a positive cash flow. I always say that.
Oh, yeah.
And I express myself freely and vigorously.
Yeah.
So I love it. So I've been kind of saying those, and when I'm getting ready, you know, I always have this like one or two things that I always have as part of my outfits, kind of just like puts me in that mode.
Your uniform?
Like whenever I'm in this mode, as much as I can resemble a lot of times being more soft, I portray myself as sometimes more submissive on my OnlyFans, but I also have a lot of dom, and I try and actually rev up my dom energy
Yeah.
the session or anything like that, and before doing any sort of erotic art movement, because I just feel like that is something that helps set me in like, this is where I'm going to be, and these are, you know, my own boundaries. It's kind of like even going anywhere on a date, whether it's on a date of doing erotic art with yourself or doing erotic art with another person. You know, you have to really be sure of like who you are as a person and where you stand. And I feel like especially bringing that dom energy on, it just helps solidify myself in it. I also always like to wear, I realize, especially with my whole Lady J, my pearl earrings, I just always like to have on.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're classy and yet so slutty at the same time.
Yeah, I love it. So good.
And after, what does after look like?
Yeah, afterwards I love to take just a nice warm shower. I always treat myself to really nice lavender soap. And I always kind of have a sense of kind of making time for me. I always like to just do kind of a little like check-in with my like chest and belly. Just kind of breathe in sometimes. Sometimes I like to smoke a little bit of weed. That's always nice, you know, calm yourself into that moment. And as well, I just really like to kind of give a moment of just kind of like looking at myself in the mirror and kind of like recognizing myself in this moment and who, like what I'm looking like. And, you know, because it's probably a moment after I just experienced myself being vulnerable or flushed with erotic energy. And I would just feel like that's something that I should hold dear to myself. Like that's my energy. So.
Wow. You made me kind of want to get more videos going.
Yeah.
It sounds like a hot date with you.
I don't obviously like I don't do it every time. Sometimes when I'm just doing a quick little video or just a little expression of art, I don't really feel the need to, but I always sometimes. But if I feel like it's a big thing that I'm sharing myself with, I always want to make sure I'm keeping myself in those moments as well. So
Beautiful.
yeah.
Really beautiful.
Thanks. Yeah.
What is your favorite and least favorite part of being a sex professional?
My favorite part about being a sex professional, I really like, and this is gonna sound funny, I really like how empowered I've been through this journey. I think ever since I've actually started it and kind of went into kind of showing people who I was and kind of revealing more of that part of me, it came into a sense of, I know the people who accept me for who I am, you know, and I've always kind of been interested in that line of work for a long time. Like I said, like I started when I was 20 years old, kind of just dabbling with curiosity in it. So it was something that was actually a really huge kind of divert towards it. And I think one of the best things I love about this is being able to hear the people. I think it's such a huge connection factor in these sort of lines of work that not many people actually really see. It's all about more the connection than anything else.
Yeah.
Anyone could
So
really
good
just
at that too. I mean, you're just your ability to connect is so inherent in.
Thanks. Yeah. So I just felt like, you know, when I meet any clients or meet any supporters of my art, you know, it's something that, you know, we're connecting together. And I feel like it's such a more personal approach because anyone can put a picture of their genitals on the internet and it could be art, but who's actually the person behind that or the person who is, you know, revealing that part of themselves.
Yeah.
There's obviously some artists who are anonymous and they do really, really well for themselves, but they also show they show a vulnerability in those faceless photos as well, which is fun. So yeah.
I play with faceless photos sometimes. I've been getting
You can definitely do faceless photos. I feel it's just like if you're anonymous, like you always have to show, I always feel like the successful people show that vulnerability in some sort of manner.
Yeah.
It doesn't really, you know, it doesn't reveal their profile, but it reveals something about themselves that people are attracted to.
Okay, so what is your least favorite part?
My least favorite is just disrespectful idiots. Is that bad to say?
No.
Okay, cool. I feel like
say it a lot. Say it loud.
Yeah, disrespectful idiots.
This is the
The amount of people that just are time wasters in the sense of not really respecting. I see the people who don't respect my erotic art or my personhood as like an erotic like sex professional, and that's because they just don't respect my job if they're not respecting my time. That's one really big lesson I had to learn for a long time over that. As well as it's just something that I feel like the one thing I didn't like the most is when people talk about liking porn or they engage with sex work, and then I hear them immediately kind of deface the people who are providing those services. I just feel like that hypocrisy is just very alive, and having I obviously during my own experience I've had clients who even kind of have that hypocrisy a little bit, so it's kind of a thing to deal with as well. So I feel like dealing with that, because it is a service you're supplying. It's kind of like serving at a restaurant, so you kind of have to be very.
I mean, I had a client. I almost had a client who I guess I did some like flirtatious sexting to lure in. And it didn't work out for whatever reason. And he messaged me a year later and said, "Oh, like I think we met at a 5 at a happy hour, and we were really talking. We were really like vibing, and I just wanted to see how you're doing." I'm like, "Oh, I'm pretty sure we met on this site." And he's like, "No, I would never disrespect a woman like that." And I said, "Oh, well, I don't. What's so disrespectful about the work?" And in the end, he asked me what my rates were, and when I told him, he just never responded. But my rates were pretty high. And he just never got back to me. And so the last message I sent out was like, "Was that like too degrading for you? Like too disrespectful for you? This amount?" It's funny how you can easily degrade someone until you see what bank they're making.
I had a person who, when I just started my account of Lady J Cherie, they wanted to engage in some more personal chat with me, which I'm very open to, as long as you're on my OnlyFans account, because I can't be engaging, keeping up with all the people who are on my IG. So when I offered that to them, they're like, "Oh, sorry, I don't buy my porn." So I was like, okay, so you're the person who just gets the free stuff that is not paying the workers who are actually making it for you. Okay, cool. Sweet. So just having to deal with that sort of thing. It's much more easier online though, I think, because obviously you have the ideas of restrictions and blocks, etc.
I mean, I feel like if you're buying it, it says something about who you are. Like I would be proud of my convertible or my car. I'd be proud of paying the high number of dollars for the thing, like, and I wouldn't be so fucking cheap, to be honest.
There's who said it? I think there's the girl on IG, her name's Stripper, right? Or her tag, she's a stripper and a sex educator, really cool girl. But she had a quote and it was like, buying your porn is like the farmer's market.
Yes.
Buying your porn is like the farmer's market of sex work. It's like you're going there, supporting local people, not the big industries like Pornhub, which is actually just I feel like it's such a wet blanket over what porn could really be. Like that's what I think. So I just kind of like don't support the wet blanket. There's so many little fires that you can just like venture off into that don't have this huge kind of one generalization of how they portray sexuality and eroticism.
Okay, so this brings me to another question. Maybe you've already answered it. So I want to know if you have any tips for clients. Yes.
Okay, tips for clients. Okay, tips for clients, I would say just be respectful. In terms of when I'm asking that I'm not able to talk on here, you can talk to me through the link. Don't ask me for my cell phone number. That's not what I'm telling you. So just listen to what I'm trying to tell you. And also, I really am like, the more people who are more well received about my content, the people who support me more, the more that I'm actually wanting to give more attention to you, or the people, like, the more you support me, the more I actually just, and obviously I don't want to advertise it because I just don't think it's a selling factor, but something like, if you're going to support me more and more, the more I'm going to support you. I'm probably going to give you extra content. I want to show you more of my art because I see how much you like it. So it's kind of almost like diving into that as well. If you're just going to be one of those people who want to just take that and take the bare minimum, that's fine. But I want to show you myself, but you also have to, it's a mutual relationship in terms of what I'm giving to you and you giving to me. So I feel like it's a really honest trade between people. And I think one of the main things too is being like, whatever their boundaries are, just respecting it. I think that's one of the main things I can just really do as a takeaway.
Yeah, respect. Okay, so that's for clients. What about girls, femme identified? I'm speaking to the femmes because that's like my art is my womanhood.
Yeah.
So do you have any tips for anyone who's like thinking about getting involved or who are like beginning the process? Or, like,
Yeah. So I
wish
would
you had
say, like,
known?
about what?
Things that you might have wished you had known getting started?
Yeah. I would say just go in with yourself and your own boundaries. I would say I wish what I did was, I wish I wrote an actual just like paper list of what I'm looking for out of this. Like, these are my motivations for this, and look over that list. I feel like a lot of people get lost in their head, especially in terms of sex professions or being an erotic artist. There's a huge money factor involved, and I don't think that's what you need to be going for necessarily, like, in total. I think it's always a factor in terms of what motivation we have for what profession we want to go into. Obviously, it's a huge factor in our personal lives, but I just don't think it should be the main factor.
Yeah.
In terms of, because I feel like if you're doing that, then it's not really like you're setting yourself out there. You're kind of removing yourself to provide something that you're needing, but it's not coming to you as a person. You're kind of getting rid of yourself in those moments. Or if you feel like there's other parts of yourself not okay with it, I wouldn't go into exploring that publicly. At least you can explore your sexuality, I think, as much as you want privately, and maybe, who knows, maybe you'll feel empowered enough eventually that you'll feel more okay to step into it. That's what I've done. It's always I did kind of an ebb and flow of waves of how much I kind of wanted to get into it, how much not. It's always up to your own choice.
Okay, so this leads into my next question. I'm so glad you're saying this because I want to know what your vision is.
Yeah, my vision. Oh, what a cool thing. Okay, awesome.
Let's say it out loud so we can help make it happen, girl.
Yeah, okay, my vision. So one of my visions, I actually was just followed by Apollyon St. Clair, and she's actually one of my very big inspirations for my art and words. Beautiful artist. And so one of my visions is that I'm going to be featured as one of her drawings. One of my visions. One of my other visions. It's going to happen. It's going to happen. I know it will. Eventually. And another thing I think is I want to kind of just open up the aspect of sexuality. I want my vision to be able to, me being fearless and expressing who I am in my sexuality, which I think is such a vulnerable part of people's lives.
Yeah.
I want people to kind of take that, and they don't need to follow suit necessarily, but I feel like seeing that vulnerability, I think it's such an inspiration, because I know for myself, when I see your vulnerability, Amber, like in your videos and how you come forward as a sex professional, I am almost blown away to tears. I also know you personally, so I have a more emotional factor, but I think it's something that has, it's even stepped me into kind of integrating that into my public life as well. It's kind of people just being able to express who they are, how they want to be. Obviously, me, I kind of have a baby face. I look like a sweet little girl when most people just try and meet me. So when they see that I'm a very kinky person, or like I'm diving into all these very kinky things, I kind of like it because I'm just like, there's so many aspects of people you don't know about it. So I'm going to be that example of showing you all like what that can be, like a person's actual personal life, the range of emotions that I can go from. So yeah.
Beautiful.
Thanks.
Yeah, well, I see you stepping into that. It's really nice to know what that is, and like we get more and more clear over time. It's like changing
Definitely.
the lens when you're at the eye doctor. It's like
Yeah.
clear, and you're like kind of clicking. Yes, yes, this, no, that. Yes, this, no, that.
Yeah. And I also have felt like, I have people from my sex coaching that have been following my art account as well.
Mhm.
And I know some people have always kind of advised me against it, kind of linking those two as, some professionals. But I actually feel like it's actually helped my practice because I feel more aligned in my own sexuality. And I had so many other people. It's naturally just been manifesting that people have just been drawn because they're like, wow, you actually are out here now. Like, I see how you want to portray yourself, and that's amazing. How can I get there? So
Yeah,
it's kind of,
it's
it
inspired
also,
me.
it was a jump, but I realized it was a jump kind of almost worth making for myself because I feel like going forward now, I'm not hiding anything. I'm not doing anything that is holding me back or feeling like I need to be back in the shadows. And so I can connect with my clients and, my people who just support me so much more easily.
I had that same feeling when I finally soft launched and launched the Parlor Project, like the show, the ceremony.
Yeah.
It was the first time I just told people publicly what I do for a profession, and that was full service sex work. Like that was like full on,
Yeah.
and the liberation that came from that was I say this often, but I became invulnerable through my vulnerability.
Yeah.
Yeah, like what are you gonna do
Crazy.
now?
I feel like I have nothing else to share. Like, I am who I am.
Yeah,
I'm stepped into it, So I'm at that
cool.
phase now where it's kind of, I feel where I'm going forward. I feel like my sex coaching profession is going forward in that aspect. And also with my art, I've been able to express that artist aspect of me because it's so big and it lives so much inside of me into another area of my life. Because I didn't want to converge the two. I didn't feel like they matched. I feel like those are different aspects. So I wanted to embrace both of them.
So okay, this leads me to another question.
Yeah.
I have 3 questions left.
Okay, let's do it. The media. The
Um,
magic number.
they're deep, kind of. I totally but first I have to say I wish I had understood the internet a lot better and wasn't scared of it a long time ago. Like I would have stepped into this a long time ago in a more public way.
Yeah.
And at your age, I think it's just such a fantastic time for you to just go and do it and just squeeze all the juice out of it.
Do it. I'm squeezing all that orange
Yeah,
juice.
I'm squeezing it too. Even
Yeah, you're squeezing that juice. You're all squeezing that juice. Yeah.
Squeeze. Okay, so you're talking about these aspects of how you're incorporating your eroticism into your different types of professions, your different expressions of professions. So so this to me talks about like there's 2 questions here that are similar.
Yeah.
One is like, what is your theology or your worldview of your womanhood, of your sex profession, of you as an artist? Like, how do those things all integrate?
Yeah. Oh, wow. This is a nice question. Okay.
Yeah.
I love these questions, by the way. I think in sexuality, sex is such a huge, vast world. I don't really kind of think of it as kind of being part of this world. I feel like there's so much more aspect to it that creates outside of this world. There's a lot of energy being involved. And I feel like what you can go into is terms of like imagination and an exploration that's super vast and super, like, you can do whatever you want in your imagination. I think it's such a huge it comes into play with your sexuality so much in terms of how you want to express yourself sexually, because there's so many various aspects that we see, especially in kink and fetishes, all these different roles and these different fantasies, role plays even. So I think especially in terms of femhood and sexuality, how it integrates is that coming forward, especially like me in my sex profession and my involvement in the sex industry, I come forward in my femhood because I think a lot of us have been stuck into what we can explore in our sex life and like what that world actually is. It's really shrunk. And I think like coming forward like as a femme into that, the amount that it has opened up in terms of the ways I want to explore, or like the ways I've pushed my body into like different like energy feelings or just like sensations or feelings, just all through sexual energy, is just amazing. And I think in terms of being a femme, we carry such a different, like I carry a different approach because of the way that I was taught to be a femme. So, you know, integrating that into my sexuality and influencing that with other people, I think that's actually a really cool thing. Be willing to open up that world to other people. I feel with my theology, I feel everyone has that world that they can go and explore. Has rivers, it has a playground, it has whatever you want in it, as long as there's consensuality and there's some fun involved. You're getting pleasure from it.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
That pleasure center and like that we're allowed to express pleasure.
We're allowed to express pleasure.
Celebrate.
Yeah, and I think that was a huge thing. I don't think I was able to express pleasure for a long time in my sex life.
Yeah.
A huge awakening when I did become a sex coach was for that reason, to help others kind of take that next step into whatever their sex life is. So I felt like also in that eroticism aspect, like I'm able as an erotic artist and as a person in the sex work industry, I kind of help people take them into that world themselves.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Okay. So, this leads me to the second question, which is, what is your general spiritual practice and how does that translate into your business practice?
My business practice. Ooh, okay, yeah. So I'm a believer in energy. I don't necessarily think I'm a believer in one certain following of religion or anything. I've like researched Buddhism. I really like the sort of energies of like chakras, Kundalini, Taoism. So I kind of have a different aspect, but I always think of more Eastern medicine and, you know, those more traditional medicines and ways of healing. I think it's really a huge integration into sex work in the sex industry. I always feel when I'm going into something, I'm opening myself up. So it's kind of almost kind of a healing process for the person who I'm there for, or the person who or the people who are my audience that I'm sharing my eroticism with. And going into that, especially kind of knowing that like my energy's there and being aware of it, making sure like I do kind of, I've had a lot of experience with this, especially in my coaching and my own schooling with counseling, but just stopping that energy and knowing how to kind of block your own and being able to let their energy and you're able to receive them and able to give something back, but you still keep a part of yourself there. And that's like, it's kind of I like to kind of think of it as your own kind of like lockbox. Like that's where you're putting your keys and you're putting just like things that you're not really needing like others to see or have. You just keep it away.
Yeah.
Until after.
Thank you.
Yeah. Yeah. I felt like.
Yeah, you know, like I hear you. This it's that boundary that like how much is giving and how much is like that's enough.
Yeah.
You know, there's got to be some sort of exchange that has to happen.
And especially, you know, in terms of it's not necessarily especially if people who are in full service, it's not necessarily like you being in bed with your lover. You know, that's like a whole energy exchange in itself. I feel like when you are going into someone who's just like you're supplying a service for, it's kind of, you have to still keep energy for yourself because you want to be there and you're showing up for them, and you have to keep in mind that is what it is.
Well, I mean, I always approached it as though it was performance art. It is
Yeah.
no less an art form. It is no less an opportunity to connect with someone as they
Yeah.
need you to
Like
be.
seduction is such an art.
Yeah.
Whether you're doing it online, whether you're doing it in person, it's an art. I feel like there's a lot of people who don't really know how, and it's just in certain the ways of the way you move your body, the what words you speak. There's a huge
Yeah.
multimedia aspect to creating it.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Okay, last big question, and
Yeah.
then we'll do a checkout
Yeah.
question, if that's okay.
Yes, let's do it.
So what is the I think you've already answered this, so we might skip this in editing. I don't know. But um, what's the biggest thing that you've really had to overcome in business, art, spirit, whatever? And what growth occurred because of that?
I feel like what my thing that I had to overcome was ridding that old part of myself that did carry those ideals, because I knew that I would not be able to go forward and actually flourish the way that I wanted to if I was carrying those things in my head. And I still kind of I hear like some of those thoughts in my head still, and I know it's just exactly from a part of my life when I just didn't really know any better. And it's something that it really is just, I don't know, I think it's just a really big reminder to me that there's so many people out there who carry this ideal. And so it kind of almost inspires me to kind of create it of, okay, I'm going to push past it though, and I'm going to show people that this ideal is actually not true, because there needs to be someone to help show those people that that thought doesn't have to be the truth for them, right? So yeah.
Oh, that really, yeah, that resonates with me
Yeah.
in such a huge way that,
Yeah.
you know, and I see you doing it. I see you pushing through. I see you living so outwardly. There's just there's no chance at taking you down a notch.
Yeah.
It's like it's your energy force field is in
Yeah.
your big learned presence. Yeah, it's really beautiful. Thank you for that. Okay,
Yeah.
here's your checkout question today. If you were a flower, what flower would you be?
Always a jasmine flower. I think what I really love about them is that they're very small. They're beautiful little white flowers, so they kind of look like a lady. I don't know. I just kind of like the whole pristine look of them. But what I love actually most about them, this is my favorite part, is just how they come alive at night with their scent. And I think it's so enveloping. Like, it's crazy how much jasmine flowers smell at night. And I think it's probably one of the most beautiful. I just love the smell of jasmine flower as well. So, yeah.
To know. Yeah. Well,
What's your flower?
Dahlia.
Dahlia, of
Oh
course.
yeah. Oh, for sure. I'm just so it's a mandala in itself. Like it to me. It's got 1,000 layers of dense,
Yeah.
rich petals that just open up, and I don't know if I look like
Dahlia.
a
You're
dahlia,
a dahlia for
but I
sure.
like that, like that robust, delicate, layered. I don't know.
You're such a dahlia too. Even just doing
Yeah.
these interviews, I remember you saying, I want to show vulnerability.
Yeah.
I was like, yeah, that's your
Yeah.
thing. That's your
I
thing.
mean, I could be a delicate orchid too.
You could
I
be delicate like
it
this.
depends.
Yeah.
Depends on the day.
Yeah, for sure.
I'm super delicate, and I'm also super robust. You know, like
You like
I'm
that.
delicate
Very delicate.
because I continue. I'm delicate because I continue
Yeah.
despite all of the things I've had to become robust through.
Of course. Yeah,
The
exactly.
practice of
I feel like
remaining
delicacy
delicate.
that's like an art. I feel like delicacy is such a strength in itself. We don't recognize it in the society. But
Yeah.
I think it's such a powerful, powerful thing.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Totally. Oh, thank you for being here.
Thanks
We
for
can really
interviewing me.
see you. That's it's.
Yeah,
I'm
I
really,
felt like we hadn't had a check-ins in a while, so
I
I'm kind
know.
of sad like to
Like
check
a broad check-in. Yeah, but
so
I am excited to put this up on in the world online in all of the places I possibly can.
yes.
Um,
I'm super down.
and is there a message that you want to give right now? Or do you have anything else on your heart that you'd like to say?
No.
Okay,
I think I'm good.
good.
Yeah. Thanks.
Well, my dear, mon chéri, I will
Mon chéri.
talk with you again. Ma chérie.
Yeah. It was super nice.
Yeah, thank you. And I hope that all of your teachings and your wisdom
Thanks.
is heard by
I
those
hope so
who really
too.
need to hear it. I've definitely heard some things today that
Yeah.
I'm gonna carry.
I've already heard some things from people, and it's been more hearing beautiful things than anything
Yeah,
else. So it's been actually really lovely.
great.
Yeah.
Talk to you soon.
Yeah. Bye.
Bye.